Three, two, one. Hello and welcome to Surprise Radio. I'm your host, Surprise, and with me I have a very special guest. It is Kenzie of Hello Luna.
Hello.
Thank you for joining me very much.
Sorry, it's my dog in the background. She wants to say hi too.
Yes, she does. I can tell.
Yeah. Reggie, you want to say hi? She's very cute. That's my girl.
Seems like she has to be the star of the show.
Yeah, she does. She's uh she's an attention hog.
Well, maybe now that she got her time on the camera, she'll be all right.
Yeah, she'll chill out. Yeah.
So I saw you post recently. Normally, this is where I would ask how long you've been together, but I saw you post recently something about 14 years ago. Somebody told you that. Tell me that story, what we were talking about in that post.
Yeah, so 14 years ago is when I got my start with music. So I bought a ukulele at Music Around, and then a year later I started working there. And that's when I started writing songs and getting into the industry. And, that's when I started my whole musical journey. Hello Luna's been together for 7 years, which is still a really long time. Um, I think that's like half my music career I've been in this band. But yeah, it's like 14 years ago is when I got the whole start. That's when it all began.
And did
Right
you say
there.
something about it started with somebody asking you to sing for them?
That's right. So when I first got started writing songs, my friend, when I was in high school, he was going to OSU and he knew I played ukulele. So he was like, "Hey, there's this ukulele club. Will you come out to the Oval and teach me some chords so I don't look like a total noob in this club?" And I was like, "Yeah." So I drove down to his campus and I taught him, just the basics. And I ended up going with him to the meeting and we realized no one asked any questions. So I joined this like, college club essentially because nobody asked. And every week we would show up and we would learn a couple songs together. And if anybody had like anything that they were working on independently, they would share it at the very end. And so there was this girl in the club named Shauna, and I loved her voice. And I would listen to her play her songs every week. And she had such a natural, like, just beauty to her voice. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to write my own song. So I did, and I shared it. And I remember like Shauna gassing me up and being like, you have such a unique voice. Like, I love that. I think the first thing I ever shared was like a Cold War's Kids cover. And yeah, she was like, "Oh, I love your voice. You should do that more. You should write some more songs. You should write some of your own stuff." And that's really where like the seed got planted. That's pretty cool.
And so you've moved from the ukulele to guitar. I see that
Yeah.
you played in the video, or did you actually play in the song for that Shredders thing that you posted?
Oh yeah, no, so that was all basically like lip singing, but like lip playing. Um so I got notified about that like a day before that was shot. And they were like, "Can you come down? Can you play the song?" And I remember hearing the song and being like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm a rhythm guitar player. You guys realize that?" And they're like, "No, it's fine. Like, can you just look like you're shredding?" And so I went down there and I gave it my best shot and it all worked out, but it's super funny.
You definitely looked very rock and roll in that. And
Oh yeah.
I did notice that the clip that you played of the new song Sweet and Deranged sounds pretty aggressive too. Do you think that you've
Yeah.
steered more aggressive with your sound, or is that just happen to be what that one song sounds like?
I think that I think yes. I'm definitely entering into that realm. If you listen to tracks like Sympathize, Tongue Tied, I've always kind of had that like heavier element, but never, I don't feel like I've ever seen it like fully like to the point where I would like it to be. So in this next record, we teamed up with Capitol House and they do like Hawthorne Heights, Beartooth, you know, the heavier stuff. And I knew I wanted to go in that direction. And it was funny because when I was working with a producer, I started like using some of my fry vocal, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you could do that." And I was like, "Yeah, like this is something that I actually want to do." And it was the first time that I ever got the green light to actually do that, and it even like scared my producer because he was just like, "I don't know, like this might be too heavy, like I feel weird about this." And I was just like, just let it happen. And so we let it happen. And we ended up going in and writing an entire EP. And I would say that's one of the heaviest songs. But I definitely use that vocal style a lot in this next EP. And I'm really excited about that. I feel like I really tapped into my voice. And I'm really excited for people to hear it.
Yeah, and the clip that you played, it did sound like it was a very natural progression for you. So I like how it sounded. It went well with you eased into it, but you really let go once you got there. So, and that was just a little
Mm-hmm.
clip. So I'm excited to hear how the song sounds.
Yeah, yeah, we have a music video coming out for it as well. So I'm excited for everyone to see that too. Put a lot of effort into kind of making this the debut of like kind of the new direction that we're going into.
So tell me about some of your influences and heroes that in the music business, whether it be for where you got started or even now that you say that you are switching to a little bit of a heavier sound.
Yeah, so I grew up in like the iPod era. So I listened to a lot of singles, a lot of different types of bands. Which like I still have records that I love, of course. I was a big I was split 50-50 between like I was in like the metal era. So like my church was Xenos. Like a lot of the metal heads around my city, they all went to that church. I was at metal shows constantly. Um, and so I didn't listen to a ton of metal, but I was going to a lot of metal shows, and that like has a special place in my heart. And as I've gotten older, I've gotten really into new metal, and that like I don't know, that's like very deeply planted in my heart. I like at the same time, like some of my favorite bands were like the indie folk of like 2012. So this was when like Peter Bjorn and John, Cold War Kids, Florence and the Machine, like all of like Arcade Fire, like it was like all of those bands were like at their peak. I was heavily into bands like that. And now, like, if you listen to my sound, it sounds nothing like either one of those things. But it's funny because they're so polar opposite. And I would say, like, my biggest influences now, we did a couple of shows with K Play last year. And I something really clicked when I saw her performance where I was like, okay, I've been doing this like band like heavily band. Like what you see is what you get. No backing tracks, like it's just us, like it's just rock. And I love that. Like don't get me wrong. I've been doing it for 7 years. um but I was like, I really want to enter into kind of this more modern lyric heavy kind of realm. And so I saw her performance. I loved her energy on stage. I loved what she delivered. Her songs are so catchy. And after playing a couple shows with her, I was like, all right, I want to do something like that. And it's taken a long time, but it's something that was in the back of my head. And I knew, okay, when we go into this next record, I want to kind of take more of that approach. And then, okay, how do I get there? So I asked a lot of my industry friends, and basically came down to you need to work with a producer. We've always done like for our last record, we did everything in house. Okay. So, like, I have my own recording studio. My drummer is an engineer. He owns the recording studio called Mars Recording Studio. And so In the last record that we put out, Into Static, basically what I said to my guys was like, okay, I have like 50 songs and I want to narrow it down to an album. Because I couldn't bring myself as a musician to just wash it all away. I mean, if you listen to the Dear Demons reimagined, that's when I really had this moment of like, I want to make a shift in our sound, right? Um, so I wanted to do something different. And so when I decided to do the album, I was like, we're going to do everything in house. And it's pretty much like a boot camp of us discovering who we are as musicians before we go off and we start working with producers and changing everything around. So we sat and COVID happened and we got super in our heads and we were picking at these songs for like years. I mean, a lot of these songs were written in like 2017, and here we are in 2020 picking at them, working on them, retweaking them, redesigning them. And so we came up with, Into Static, and I love that album. And that is truly, all of us, no outside stuff. But with this, I told the guys, I said, this is it. We're not touching the old stuff anymore. It's so easy when you have 50 songs just to like go and grab one and pop out a song, especially with like how quickly you should be releasing music right now. But I got to the point where I was like, I'm a stronger songwriter now. I have stuff in me that as an artist I want to be creating. I don't want to keep going back and pulling out old stuff just because I write a lot. So anyways, long story short, put out the album. I told the guys we're closing the book, we're done with the old stuff, we're doing new stuff. I looked at a lot of different producers and I decided, first of all, Nick is 10 minutes down the road from me, so that's pretty convenient. Secondly, he just does great work and his schedule isn't completely overloaded because he's doing something called Drum Daddy, which is like a plugin for like mixing and just recording in general. And so he's not taking on as many clients. So when I come in, it's like full focus. And that's really what you need. A lot of producers are really overloaded with clients, but with him, it's like laser focus. We wrote 5 songs in like the course of like, I don't know, like 5 days. We were like doing a song a day. It was crazy. But it was such a great experience. And I really felt like I had tapped into something creatively that was more mature. So rather than sitting down and picking out my guitar and trying to come up with lyrics, it was, working with a professional who does this every day, giving him some ideas and just running with it. And just like this creative energy that was like so uplifting and so exciting. And I think that really comes through on the record. And I'm really excited to share it.
So I know that the last record that you put out, you were talking about, Into Static, was released in January of 22, and you didn't release a video for Haywire, but that seems to be your most streamed song. I didn't
Right.
I didn't know if you had a plan to release single by single this time around and maybe toy with the idea of videos or not videos, or if you were releasing everything all at once after the first single.
So that's a good question. Yeah, we're definitely doing single by single. Just the way that the algorithm works on Spotify, every time I release a new song, our listeners skyrocket. And it doesn't matter if it's a single or an album. So I don't want people to be like waiting along too long for the album. So we have a very vigorous release schedule. We're releasing monthly, starting in June up to October. So you're going to be getting a single every single month up to October, and then the last single will be the last song of the EP. So there's gonna be 5 songs total, and yeah, it's kind of crazy. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like gearing up for it, but it's, I mean, I've been pushing really heavily on social media. If you follow us on TikTok or if you follow us on Instagram, I'm always on there. And this is just like another way for us to kind of make another push because we need more streams on Spotify. So this is the way to do it. And I think it's gonna be fun. We did kind of get bit with Haywire being the most definitely the most streamed song. Um I and for this basically what we're doing is, so obviously Sweet and Deranged, the first song that has like the full music video. With every song we're going to be releasing, we're going to have some sort of video to go with it. Not necessarily a music video, but like some sort of video. And once all of the songs are released, whichever one is performing the best, that's the one we're going to choose to go ahead and do another music video for. So we're going to be seeing at least 2 music videos with this next release. But Sweet and Deranged is the only one that will be released with the music video.
And I know that music videos aren't cheap. I say it every time I do a show. They're very expensive to make and time consuming, and you film it almost a year before you even put it out sometimes. But with what my
Mm-hmm.
show is on YouTube, it is nice to have music videos. Do you feel like
Yeah.
do you feel like the music video is a lost art somewhat, or what are your thoughts on music videos outside of course, well, no, you can include the cost and work and everything into it. Just what is your thought?
Yeah, no. So I actually have a very like pointed response to this because my full-time position is I work for a video editing app, which is basically designed for musicians to help them create music videos quickly. Which is hilarious and ironic. Um, Here's the thing, you can run your band a lot of different ways, and there's a lot of different ways to break into the industry. Um, Obviously, MTV gone, music videos are not as important as they once were. People built an entire career based off of music videos. That's not going to happen anymore without the right social support. So I would say they're not as crucial as they used to be, but if you are creating a fan base, like most people are going to create a fan base off of social media, right? They're going to be posting on Instagram and TikTok. And if let's say that somebody falls in love with your music and they want to be a diehard fan, and you don't have any sort of long form content like a music video or something for somebody to like emotionally connect to, it's going to be a struggle for that fan to really connect to you. Now, is it saying that like there's no way that you can get diehard fans without a music video? Absolutely not. It's just another form to connect with your fans. And I wouldn't say that they're necessary, but I would say if you're a musician and you're looking at it like, oh, I don't need a video for my music, like you're insane. Like you're crazy. Like you need video content more than ever. You can make a video, like you can make a music video if you're creative enough, like without a budget. You can. Like with the apps that are out there, if you like become skilled enough, like look up on YouTube like how to edit, like there's big time artists who have just shot music videos on their phone. You can do it. Like there is literally no excuse. There was a time like when I first started, you couldn't do that. You couldn't get away with that. You can now. Now the whole budget, like the full budget thing, like honestly, it's a preference. Like you can choose to like have a more lax style, but you need to be putting 100% of your personality out there because that's how you're gonna sell that kind of vibe. So that's what I would say. I think it's like crazy to think like, oh no, you definitely don't need music videos. They're used in different ways. Like when I post it to TikTok, like I still like I post like a clip on my phone before I show the actual music video. It's a different way of advertising. Um, Nobody's generally people don't see your music video and they fall in love with your music. You have to like show your personality. You have to like the music video comes after you do that hard work of establishing a fan base and, you know, being you. And then they want to go check out your music video. You know, you can't shove the music video and then they want to find out you. It's kind of flip flop. It used to be the other way. They'd see a cool music video. Oh, what are they about? Now it's, what are they about? Oh, I'll go check out their music video. So there's no shortcuts anymore. That's the real thing. Even if you have money, like there are no shortcuts. You have to do the hard work. You have to be present on social media. You have to be posting. Like it's hard work. You got to do it.
It is a lot of work, and I know that you were talking earlier about the little bit of decline in your streams because you went, like I said, from January until June of this year with no content. So during that time, and you were talking about your fans a minute ago, I thought during that time, maybe do you want to tell your fans what you've been up to, or do you want to
Yeah.
just have a message straight for the fans right now?
Yeah, you know, we released into Static the like stripped down version. And from that period until now, it was like I'm I'm gonna shoot it to you straight. I wasn't sitting there like in my room like writing a bunch of new material or anything like that. I was really determining like what I wanted our sound to be. And it was more of like an existential question than like, let me sit down and write. Cause I mean, I'm really blessed with the fact that like if I want to sit down and write a song, like I can do it. So I wasn't worried about like pumping out a bunch of new music because I've written so much. I knew I wanted to change something. And, you know, it was just a lot of contemplation within myself of like, okay, how am I going to do this? So, like I said, I mean, changed things up a lot. We hired a new band member. So Danny, he's on synth. He's adding so like such a different element to the band. He's in my solo project Kenny, so he's the other half of Kenny, and so I brought him on to Hello Luna to kind of change up the sound. So yeah, like what I've been doing between that time is really determining like, okay, who am I going to work with to get this sound that I have in my mind out there. And I did it in a very short time. I did it in like 5 days. And when you've been like working at something like so hard and then you do it in 5 days, like something that took you, you know, with like my other songs took me years to get them to the point where I felt like they could be released, and I could do it in 5 days. It was like this like epiphany, and I felt like everything had changed. I felt like as an artist, I felt so much more free, you know. Songs become a burden eventually. You know, you sit on them and the first inspiration, it dies by the end of it, and then you hate the song by the end of it, and even especially when you've been toying around with it for 3 years and you're just over it, and then you go out and you promote it and you make it just that didn't feel good for me anymore, and I needed something different. And working with Nick and working with these next songs, I mean, if I had a message for my fans, just shoot it to me straight. Like I can't wait to hear what you guys think of these next songs. Because what I was really trying to channel in these songs is the emotion, is my what I'm saying. As opposed to like before, it was like creating the entire thing, you know, and structuring it for years. Now it's just what am I trying to say to the people who are listening? And I'm really interested to see how that's perceived. I'm excited. I think it's going to be a good thing.
I thought maybe we'd play a couple of rapid fire questions real fast if you're ready for that.
Hey, I got my coffee, so I'm ready.
What's your favorite song to sing or play? It can be yours or
Sympathize.
someone else's. Sympathize.
Yep, sympathize.
It's still my favorite song by you.
Yeah, I love especially if you've ever seen that song live, we do a breakdown. Mm, I love heavy music.
Yeah, I,
So
I may have watched a couple of live performances of it in preparation for this. So she's right. It's
love
fun.
it.
You definitely want to see Hello Luna live. All right. So what else are you into besides music? TV shows, movies, books, games, anything?
So right now, I am getting back into skateboarding. So that's super fun. I've been hitting up. I used to do like just street skating, and now I'm getting into park skating. So of course, being a little, I'm not 14 anymore, so I got like a helmet and pads and the whole deal. But yeah, that's been super fun. That's been one of my big hobbies. I've been really busy, but I also make art. So I love painting and drawing when I actually have the time for it. And, traveling, obviously I'm better like it. I'm a musician. But yeah, those are, and hiking, big outdoorsy kind of person. Anytime I can be outside, I'm happy.
Do you have a favorite tour or venue to play at? Favorite tour that you've done or venue to play at?
Hmm. We did we did this really really crappy headlining tour, and we went through Chicago and a couple other places. I can't even remember what it was, but we had so much fun. And the shows like weren't shot somehow. I don't know how. Like we were so tiny then, tinier than we are now. um but the people we met there were so awesome, and every single like venue owner was like so gracious and like paid us more than they were supposed to, and that whole experience was just awesome. I remember we played in Bowling Green, and at one point I was sitting on top of, like, we had drove from Chicago to Bowling Green. We forgot about the time difference. There's like a 2 hour time difference. So we pulled up to this house. It was 12 a.m. We loaded all of our gear directly on stage and we just rocked out. And there was too many people there. Like I was like, it's 12 a.m. Like this is someone's house. Like, how are there this many people there? And by the end of the night, I remember I was sitting on someone's roof and I was like, someone brought out pizza and I was like, oh, I want a slice. And they put it on a stick and just like got the stick and the pizza and like lifted it up to the roof, and I just grabbed it and ate pizza. And it was just one of those moments. It was like, this is rock and roll. Like this is a community of people who made rock happen. This isn't a venue. This isn't, and like mind you, I don't love playing house shows. Like this is a diamond in the rough. But it's that moment that I was like, this is it. This is a community of people that got together and made this happen, made a stage in their like crappy college garage, and brought all their friends out and just made an awesome night. And the whole tour was like that. It was just like, this shouldn't be this sweet. We played like a haunted venue in Indianapolis, and that's just crazy. But that was, I don't know, that was one of my favorite times that we've ever gone out.
That's awesome. Do you have any dream tour mates you'd like to go with? It could be someone local that you're friends with, or it could be a big band
Hmm.
that you just want to see live or think would bring some attention to you.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to go back out with K-Play. Obviously, we played a few shows with them, and I was just like, take us out more. Um, K-Play. There's a band they're in the UK and they're called Syndicix, and they're sweet. They're more pop, but I love them. Mothica, love Mothica. I love her message. She talks a lot about mental health and her struggles with, she's just very outspoken, and she's a real person. I think she would be super fun. Sorry, my cat's rubbing on my tripod here. um
That's what they
and
do.
I think if I could like have a band that was like in the big leagues, probably the Foo Fighters,
How do you
because
describe your
they've
sound?
taken, how do I describe my sound? I would say modern rock with like a pop twist. which like I don't know. That's the best I can do. It's so tough.
No, it's okay.
Yeah.
I agree with you. You actually did just mention Foo Fighters. I mean, Kurt Cobain would have called his music pop every time that you asked him. So,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and
I
I
mean,
always
in
uh,
yeah,
uh,
mind you, a lot of the new songs are a lot more pop driven. So,
yeah, I told you before that I think you sound a little like Letters to Cleo, and they're
mm,
kind of pop. So,
yeah,
um, so your new single, Sweet and Deranged, comes out when?
June 9th,
June 9th, and there'll be a video that day.
I believe so. Mm. There should be. I haven't seen it yet, but there should be. No, that's a lie. I've seen it. I had a couple of we need to change a couple of things, but the guy who shot the music video, I went to his wedding and he's been on a honeymoon and I haven't heard from him since. So hopefully I get it back here soon. I'm sure I will. But there should be a music video with it.
And if not, she'll
Um
tell you on the socials.
yeah, I'll let you know.
Sorry. Do you have an
No
upcoming
worries.
tour coming up at the end of June?
We sure do. So we are doing we're gonna be doing I wish I had the dates off the top of my head. I believe it's like June 26th through the 28th. So we are going to be in Akron. We're going to be in Sandusky, and then we're going to be in Columbus. Um, and you can find all that stuff on, if you just look us up on Soundkick, the link in my bio, anywhere that you view us on social media, helloluna.band, bands in town. You can find the dates there. And then I'm really excited. We're going to be playing Audio Feed, and that's going to be July 2nd. That's going to be super great. Really excited to be playing that festival.
Kenzie, thank you so much for joining me today. Do you have anything else you want to tell your fans before we go?
Um, Check out Sweet and Deranged June 9th.
All right. Thank you so much. And everybody, thanks for tuning in. All of her information, I'm sorry, all of Hello Luna's information will be down below in the description. And once again, thanks for joining me. Y'all have a good one.